Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm with Another here. We're back with another Deltarune theory. So today I'm going to be talking about what I think could happen in Chapter 5. And we know a little bit about Chapter 5, and like knowing my luck, in like honestly probably in a month Toby's going to release a newsletter talking about Chapter 5, and it's going to like blow everything I say in here out of the water, but it's okay. I'm excited for the Undertale 10th anniversary. But anyways, besides that, we're going to pretty much get straight into it. And yeah, if you guys have been watching my videos and you aren't subscribed, I really appreciate it if you would subscribe. It helps out a lot, and it's free, and you don't have to put notifications on or anything. I don't really care. But anyway, so basically my idea here is that there's two ways Chapter 5 could start out, and basically the first like minute or two or something of this video I'm just going to be talking about more like ideas that aren't really based on anything. But then as we get into the video, I'll have more evidence-based things. But right now, for the first minute or two, I'm just going to be talking about what could potentially happen at the beginning of the chapter, how it starts out. So I think we know that at the end of Chapter 4, Kris was like looking out the window at Susie, and assumedly they were maybe going to jump out. And again, this is without the soul, which is why I almost feel like the option B I have here is more likely. Kris could end up not jumping out the window, but we'll see. So my first one for A is we just wake up and Sans is there. It's kind of like how Susie was just there in Chapter 4 at the beginning, where maybe Toriel makes us breakfast, or Sans just wakes us up or something like that people have talked about. Or I think what could happen is if Kris does end up jumping out the window, like it seems like they will from the end of Chapter 4, at least to me, I honestly think there's a chance that somehow we could get out of the birdcage, I mean, maybe that's a stretch. It's kind of just random guessing here. And then we have to like sneak past like Sans and Toriel dancing. I really like that idea of the soul having to like sneak outside to chase after Kris. Like, I think it'd be really funny, because my idea with Kris jumping out the window is like Kris goes up to Susie and is like how Kris like tells Susie, oh, we should go to the library in Chapter 2 because like Noelle said to go there. I think Kris could tell Susie like, hey, we should go stay at my dad's because I can't fall asleep here. And then maybe Susie ends up either going to the Dark World to sleep because like there's that room that Rouse made for them, or they could both go to Asgore's shop. But I think Kris would go to Asgore's just because, I mean, that's like the next chapter is set up to be Asgore, so I feel like that makes sense. So anyway, continuing with the idea that we wake up to Sans just being in the house and there's no like soul shenanigans going on, I think the festival will start immediately, and we're just gonna like walk around, have fun with Susie. And everyone's there. There's probably like a bunch of fun stuff happening, and I'll get into like Papyrus and Asriel later. I think if we see Asriel, he'll probably be at the end, but I'll get to that later. So I think what's gonna happen is we're gonna be chilling around at the festival and all that, and then Asgore is gonna see Toriel and Sans like having fun, and maybe Alphys will somehow be important. We'll get into Alphys in a little bit too. Asgore's gonna be like, that's my wife, bro. And then he's gonna get mad and he's gonna like somehow make a dark fountain. Somehow he knows that, I guess. I don't know, I'm just spitballing here. And then that's where the Dark World will start. But my second idea is when we leave the house and like sneak past Sans. I also really like the idea is like if you go up to Sans with the soul, you just like fight him from Undertale. That'd be really funny. But yeah, we sneak out to the Flower King, where Kris will be sleeping, and we come into the room and either Asgore makes the fountain, or maybe even potentially Kris makes the fountain while Asgore is sleeping. And then the soul is just there, like maybe Kris knew the soul was gonna follow. So anyway, let's get right into the ideas of what the chapter will actually be about. If you can't tell, there's a very big theme here. I also said this in my other Asgore video, just kind of explaining that we know it's probably gonna be in Chapter 5. I've already explained it in my video talking about how it's probably gonna be in Flower King in Chapter 5. We know that there's a superhero comic on Asgore's TV. It's interesting that Caddy and Brady, when talking about Alphys and Asgore, both they call him like super, they refer to Asgore as super. Alphys calls Asgore a superhero, and in the alarm clock dialogue, Asgore talks about Santa Claus and saying how he's a superhero and he wants to be like him. And I also saw someone else point out all of these like tweets and the Twitter accounts that I got some of these ideas from are up here. The fact that Asgore is referred to in the prophecy as Flower Man, which is kind of like Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, I think it'd be really funny if he was a superhero in the Dark World and he was Flower Man, I think that'd be a really cool idea. So this is more Chapter 5 stuff I had talked about in my other video again. It's more that we know there's going to be some sort of wheat field probably, because there's like 3 different examples of it here. The Eggman, the hammer guy, Malleus. I knew his name, Malleus. And he's talking about if only there was someone a master of bread, and something about the harvest of wheat. And I'll probably get into I harvest the wheat later, because I think that could be something to do with the secret boss. So this is maybe more of a crack and kind of random thing, but there is evidence for it. I think either Sans or Alphys, or potentially even both, but I think that is probably pushing it, could show up in this chapter. So if you haven't seen my other video on my quote-unquote sticker theory, I called it, is basically that like all the secret bosses revolve around these stickers, and I think Sans could be like kind of, you can kind of predict him to follow with these stickers. And Toei didn't make them or anything, he just based like Jevil, Spamton, and Gerson off of them, so I think like we should look at them to determine like what could the future boss be based on. So we have like some of this stuff from Undertale that I base it on, and also just like the setup from chapter 4 of like it's raining somewhere else, inserting him into the story where like you can't miss him possibly. So it just like feels like he could be relevant, especially if Rouse gets a fight how Susie fought Gerson, where Gerson like taught her stuff. I think Sans could teach Rouse pretty well and like rage bait him kind of. I've seen people like have a lot of good ideas for stuff he would say and all that. But I think either way, Sans is going to show up at some point. I don't know if it has to be chapter 5. I think there's a pretty good, like he feels like the right option here. But I also think Alphys is pretty good because in my opinion, like maybe Alphys could be 6, but it feels like the only way Alphys could show up would be in chapter 5 because of how much like Alphys and Asgore are kind of related. If you like know from Undertale, no matter who you click on here, it like says that Alphys has a crush on them, but like the way like she's blushing, I'm pretty sure it kind of seems like she might have actually had a crush on Asgore, like especially with all the dialogue in Undertale. And again, she's the one who calls him a superhero, and like this little interaction with Caddy and Bratty from Undertale kind of makes me think like, okay, well they're very like related to each other. Like she's the royal scientist. Like I feel like we haven't really seen them interact in Deltarune other than like her giving him the comic, but I think using this idea from Undertale can help us kind of think where it might be going in Deltarune. And my only problem with Alphys too is like she isn't in the narrative like forced enough. Like yeah, she's the teacher, but she doesn't really like get forced in kind of how Sans does at the end of chapter 4. But like one thing that is interesting, I saw someone mention in a video, is she kind of does get forced in at the beginning of chapter 4. Like you have to talk to her to get the evidence to tell Susie where to go for the bunker information you have to get in the church. So I thought that was interesting. And I also thought it was interesting that both in Undertale and Deltarune, Alphys replaces someone's name starting with G who has like a very high reputation, is like very beloved by people. And I know Gaster isn't like talked about very much other than the followers, and it's also interesting that both of them fell into their creation, and like Gerson says, well, the author found his creation, and the followers of Gaster say he found his own creation. So it's like very interesting that they both have that, I guess you'd say, motif kind of falling into their creation. I also think it'd be interesting if she was in here, so we could either see a light blue or orange soul. I really want to see a light blue and orange soul like so bad. That's one thing I really want to see in Deltarune, and I hope he follows through with that. Or at least maybe she'll use light blue and orange attacks if she is some sort of boss. And you might think like, oh, why would Alphys want to fight us? I've also seen someone say it might be because like she would be the type of person to get like sucked into an imaginary world and not want to leave, and she'd be like, no, don't close the fountain, I really just like want to stay here, this is all I have, and stuff like that. Or I think what I'm about to get into with Asgore, I think she could get overtaken by the flowers, which I'll also get into the flowers later. The flowers could potentially be evil and take them over, because like why would Asgore fight Kris? Which is like pretty much what I'm about to go into. Like why would Asgore want to fight his own kid? And this is pretty much like all the stuff we have about Asgore. It's not very much, but he talks about, and again the alarm clock, where he's like, I want to be like Santa Claus. I want to be this superhero, this guy who can always be good and help people. And of course he's in the prophecy. We know it's in his thing, in the Flower King. And I want to like take attention to these eye things, because like he's the only monster in Undertale that can use both orange and blue attacks. I'm pretty sure all the other things, other than like the core when it attacks you, but I feel like that doesn't really count. So I really hope we see like blue and orange attacks in this chapter somewhere. But I also think it's really interesting that like he's wearing pink and gold, his shop is pink and gold. Of course, Friend's eyes are pink and gold, but I think the only other character to ever exhibit these different colored eyes is Asgore in his fight in Undertale, which is, I think, very interesting. Of course, it's not at the same time, and it's kind of just like saying like for the attack, but I don't know if it's just a coincidence or if it's just like if it could actually be something important, because a lot of people do think Friend could be important to this chapter with like how much he's in the past 2 chapters, and chapter 3 and 4 kind of hyped up, but that was just kind of a little aside. I don't know if it's actually relevant. But yeah, so then there's the flowers, which like Chekhov's freaking missile launcher, bazooka, artillery strike, like have to be Darkners. I've seen people like not want them to be Darkners, which I'm not really sure why. It doesn't really affect anything in Undertale in my opinion. I think they can still have the personalities of the humans without it like ruining anything about Undertale, because they're gonna have to have personalities anyway, so they might as well have somewhat similar personalities to what the Undertale ones would be, I guess. Like I think that makes sense. So I kind of just have like their items on screen to like give you some ideas of what they could have or what they might be like. Like I think Patience could potentially be a ninja. Obviously Integrity is like some sort of ballerina. Perseverance is probably like could be like a nerd kind of character maybe. Justice is obviously a cowboy, which I'm gonna get into Integrity and Justice on like there actually is kind of some information for them, I think. Bravery could be some sort of boxer, and Kindness is obviously some kind of chef probably. And of course, quote-unquote Determination, if you want to call Flowey that. I think, if you don't know, there's this one tweet of Toby talking about this fan gamer shirt where he says, oh, he's always getting mixed up with flowers, because it's like a shirt where Rouse is stuck in like flowers. And then he's like, wait, that hasn't happened yet. And this was like pre-chapter 2, it was like 2019 or something, so I think like this flower, the yellow one, could turn into some sort of like Asriel creature. Not really creature, just Asriel Darkner, I mean. And I like wonder what all the other flowers are gonna be. Are they gonna all look like Asriel, or are they all gonna be like unique type of monster characters, or will they look like a flower? Like I'm really interested to see what they might look like. But I think the Asriel Darkner could get mixed up with Rouse somehow. And I really think it would be fun if we fight all of these and they all use their soul mode, or I guess if we never actually get a light blue soul and an orange soul, they'll like use the light blue attacks and the orange attack when we fight them. Like I really just missed that mechanic from Undertale, and I just really want to see a light blue and orange soul fight because we never got it. Now we're gonna get into Integrity. So if you don't know, there's this dialogue by Miss Mizzle in chapter 4 when you're fighting her, and she says, well said, bluest flower, a disciple in my speech, shy to no camera, and a specimen of elegance and kindness. Should you meet, please give my regards. So of course it says kindness here and you think of the green soul, but I think elegance is obviously talking about, you know, being a ballerina and, you know, elegance and all that. And I think kindness is just meant to be like, all the kids were probably kind to some extent. We don't really know exactly what they did when they were in Undertale, but I don't think it really matters because like obviously this isn't the Undertale version of them, it's like a flower. But clearly it's saying bluest flower and saying should you meet, so I feel like pretty much that's setting up a future character, obviously. I'm pretty sure Toby's done this before where he's like, when you see someone later maybe. I feel like I can't. Maybe I'm thinking the other way around where you meet like Swatch and he's talking about Spamton, or you meet like Eram and he's talking about all of them from chapter 1 and 2, but I'm pretty sure he's done like, oh, you're gonna meet someone in the next chapter. Well, yeah, he did that with Jevil with Queen. I forgot about that. And my next one is the Justice Soul. So I know people always talk about, oh, Woody Theory 2, Woody Theory 2, which yes, I think it would be funny, but I feel like if we were gonna get Woody as a secret boss, we wouldn't have gotten the mic room, which literally references Friend Inside Me like 2 or 3 times and like gives the one guy the cowboy hat. I can't remember their names right now, but gives that guy, I think it's Jongler, gives Jongler a hat and is like literally referencing Friend Inside Me. But I think it's interesting that in chapter 3 it's like talking about, this is the unused question from the 3rd board. We're talking about the Asgore's favorite cowboy puppet show and that it was cancelled, and then it's like the show that your dad likes. And also this one here, the floral cowboy bath curtains. It's interesting that it's floral cowboy. What does flowers and cowboys have to do with each other? Like maybe it's just a decoration choice. But to me, that's like, okay, well there's flowers on it. There's a cowboy hat on it. So that's like teasing chapter 5, like obviously Flower King and flowers, and cowboy hat, which is the yellow soul, which we know from Undertale had like the gun, the justice soul, like everything that has to do with like cowboy stuff. So I think this is teasing for a yellow soul, like cowboy type character, which is gonna be really cool to see. I wonder if it'll reference Clover at all from Undertale Yellow. So right here, we're kind of just gonna have some quick fire random stuff where I just talk about random stuff that I have ideas like I didn't really know how to fit in. So first off, I think I'm gonna talk about this bottom left thing because I was gonna make more of a slide on it, but I honestly just forgot and just remembered it now. I think if the secret boss isn't Sans or Alphys maybe, which like I really like don't see how it could be Alphys, but I like the reason, again, I forgot to bring that up in the Alphys slide, but the reason it could be Alphys is because we've never got an actual Alphys fight. If you think of anyone from Undertale that we never got a fight from, Alphys is the one with the most no fight. Like we never have actually gotten a fight from Alphys, so it would continue with the pattern of Spamton Neo and Gerson fights that we didn't get from Undertale. Now the problem with that is like Spamton Neo is already similar to Metaton, which like technically we kind of fight Alphys at the end of Undertale when we save her soul because she uses like some attacks against us when we save her. And they were pretty much just Metaton's attack, so like maybe it would be too similar to even make a fight for. But either way, I think like she's the one who never got a fight the most out of any character, so that's like why she could get one. But anyways, back to what I was saying about the purple soul. I think if it isn't either of them, because like with Sans obviously we get dark blue, and if with Alphys we'd probably get light blue or orange or just like the attacks. I think we could potentially fight the Eggman because we know this last shard in chapter 5 is the last shadow crystal, because Sham says that once we get this next shard we can make something incredible that we might like and all that. So I still think there's going to be secret bosses probably in future chapters. I mean, there's a chance there just isn't, but I think he might just like make them for fun, hopefully. Like Toby might make them for fun. But yeah, I think we could fight the Eggman and he could have the purple soul, because again I should have put this in here, but there's this Q&A that Fangamer did with the Swampton Sweepstakes. If you know what the Swampton Sweepstakes are, it was like a charity they did. That was official, held by Toby, by Fangamer. And there was this little Q&A on Twitter they did. There was this one line where someone asks Spamton about cats, and he tells him like his elemental pair is Puppet Cat, which we know from the files. Spamton is Puppet Cat, Jevil is Chaos, and there's a bunch of other things like the Night is Dark Star, and that's why the mantle protects us, because in the mantle description it says protects against Dark Star attacks. So Spamton also mentions Death Scythe, and of course if you think about it, a scythe is something you use to harvest wheat, and the Eggman does say on Sunday I harvest the wheat. He's saying he himself does it, so that's why I think if it's not Sans or Alphys, we could see the Eggman as our secret boss in this chapter. And if also my other theory about it being the Riverperson, the Eggman being the Riverperson with a scythe with the purple soul, I think that would actually be such a tough fight. Thinking about that now, that would be actually so cool. But yeah, that's why I think it could potentially be the Eggman. It would be the purple soul with the scythe guy, because it'd be like in the Muffet fight you were in cobwebs and like stuck and had to do like this, but in this one you'd be stuck in vines. Another thing is Kris. I like to call it Kris Skywalker theory. It's the idea that Kris is gonna lose their hand somehow, because there's a bunch of stuff alluding to it especially in chapter 4 and a little bit in chapter 3. I would look up Kris losing hand theory or Kris Skywalker theory. There's a good amount of videos on it. I mean, I might do one if I find more stuff on it, but I don't know if I want to do one. I like this though. I saw on Twitter yesterday. Kris with this has a hand, but KRS, like when you put your name in the chapter 3 thing, is without the eye, which is without the hand, which is like, that's crazy foreshadowing if that's true. But I think if this is gonna happen, it could potentially happen in chapter 5, because in my opinion, I think chapter 5 is gonna be like crazy. Like I think something crazy is gonna happen in chapter 5. I don't really know what, but maybe Rudy dies, especially because it's about Asgore, and like Asgore and Rudy are like seem to be like really good college friends. So I think, especially like him getting flower stuff, so that could be a Chekhov's gun there. So I think if we see Papyrus, then we're definitely gonna see Asriel from college, because when you talk to Sans, there's this one dialogue which like doesn't always show up, but it's like I think it has like a random chance of happening when you talk to Sans about his brother in chapter 2. He says maybe around when your brother comes home, in terms of talking about seeing Papyrus. That's why I think if we see Papyrus, we're definitely gonna see Asriel. But on the other hand, I think we're definitely gonna see Asriel at least by the end of chapter 5. I think Like the chapter could end with you seeing Asriel, but I don't know if that means we definitely see Papyrus. Because if Papyrus, again, this is going back to the idea that Sans is from Deltarune and goes to Undertale. If we see Papyrus, he can't say in Undertale he never saw a human and being like, is that a human? Unless somehow maybe his memory gets wiped. I mean, we have no idea, but I honestly feel like there's a decent chance we just don't see Papyrus in this, or if we do, he's a different version than the Undertale one. Back to kind of the beginning, I think there is honestly a chance we don't even get the festival in chapter 5. I think we probably will, because it's like set up so much in chapter 4. But yeah, I think it could possibly go overnight, like how chapter 3 was overnight, because maybe that's how we see the night. I honestly have this idea that the night can only show up if it's nighttime. Which, I mean, like, haha, night, but we've only seen the night when it's dark outside, so I honestly feel like there's a chance that, like, that's how it works. Okay, so I have one more final kind of crack theory here, and that's that, honestly, what if this is a crazy shot in the dark and has no evidence base at all? But I just, like, feel like there has to be an Icy's Pizza chapter, but I just don't see it happening in chapter 6. So my idea is, what if in chapter 5 we go between Flower King and Icy's Pizza, and like Sans is in Icy's and Alphys is in Flower King, and we somehow get both fights? Like, maybe that's too much to ask and like way too crazy of an idea, but I feel like, and this like doesn't have to happen in Deltarune, but my idea of, imagine you go in between two dark worlds, like at any point in the game, if that were to happen, where you can like come out of a dark world and go into another one and then like get something there, come out of there, come into here, and like have whatever from here be used in here somehow, or like some information or something like that. That could only happen on festival day, and that's not to say the festival can't go into chapter 6, but the only way I feel like that idea works is if it's in chapter 6. But again, just because I have that idea doesn't mean it has to happen in the game. It's just kind of a crack theory idea that, like, what if both were happening at the same time and we went back and forth? I just thought it would be a cool idea. So one more thing that I didn't have a slide on that completely forgot, but I think it's fine, I don't really have to show it, is if you know in chapter 4 there's the Bibliox enemy that makes you rearrange words, and they have like different song names that people are thinking about. Like, all of the words they use are songs that are in Deltarune. Like, there's one that's Gallery, there's one that's Atrium, which I'm pretty sure Atrium is a chapter 4 song, and I think Hymn is in there too. And there's also one called Festival, and I think there's one called Synthesis too. So people are thinking that since there's one called Festival, Synthesis, and a couple other things that, I mean, I'm sure you can find online if you really want to see them all, because I can't think of them right now, and I'm sorry, I should have made a slide, but I feel like it's just fine to mention here at the end, because it's kind of just a small thing about the songs. But so like, we'll probably get a song for the festival, maybe just called Festival, and then the one called Synthesis kind of just proves to me more that we're definitely getting Flower King as the Dark World, which is obviously going to happen next chapter. So I'm interested to see what those songs are about. But it's interesting that Toby is like kind of teasing it like that through the Bibliox enemy. But yeah, this one is a pretty long one. I kind of made it longer than normal because I have a lot of ideas and just wanted to say what I think could happen in chapter 5. Again, I know a newsletter is just going to come out in like a month and have some like song or sprite or like scene in the chapter 5 that just gonna like probably throw all of my ideas out the window, but I don't know. Oh yeah, and one more thing that I just thought of, it isn't that important, but I forget if I said this, but I think it'd be really fun to fight all of the souls one to one, and they like use their soul. I think I said that, but I really am excited to see what Toby does with Asgore and like all that stuff. And I really hope we get a 6 human soul Asgore fight, like, and I really hope that Alphys shows up too, because I hope she gets her fight too. I feel like she isn't relevant enough, like Sans is more relevant, but I hope Alphys shows up. I mean, either of them I hope shows up. But at least I hope Asgore gets like the love he deserves, because I really like Asgore, and I really want a hard fight with Asgore. I really hope it's like not easy, because like, how do you go from the Titan, like how do you get past from what the Titan was in chapter 5, or how do you get past what the Titan was in chapter 4? Like, it was like an insanely really cool fight. I feel like an all decked out 6 human soul Asgore fight would be so sick. And again, I don't really know why he'd be fighting us, but obviously if this prophecy thing is called boss number 3, then I feel like he's probably going to be the main boss somehow, whether the souls are taking him over, which is kind of an interesting idea on the souls. Like, obviously they won't be souls, they'll probably be flowers, like maybe there'll be vines around him, but I think it'd be interesting if we actually got the hard Asgore fight that we never got from Undertale. I think that's why I thought that would be cool. I mean, I feel like this video's kind of all over the place, but I don't know. I don't really edit my videos like crazy. I mean, I do edit them a lot because I do say a lot of ums, and sometimes I try and edit out likes if I can, because I always say like, and I feel like I say words a lot, like the same words over and over a lot, so I just try to make it less annoying. But yeah, I've kind of been like I don't know if I've been talking too fast in this video, but I kind of just wanted to record it and get it done with, because I've been working on this slide for a while and I haven't made a video in a couple weeks, so I just wanted to get one out, so if people were waiting on me or whatever. And I just wanted to put some ideas out there so people can think of what like they might think will happen in chapter 5. And if you have any ideas that I didn't mention, you can put them in the comments, because I usually try and read as many comments as I can, but it's kind of been crazy how many comments I've been getting on my videos and like all the views and stuff. It's like, I really appreciate it, guys. So like, again, it would really help me if you could subscribe and all that, and like the video, and you know, comment if you have any ideas, or maybe disagree with some of my ideas. That's fine by me. And remember just to be nice to people. Some people take things too seriously, some people don't really think about what they say, and I don't know, maybe this is just out of the blue, but I think just people need to be nicer to each other and more accepting of other people's ideas, especially about like a game like Deltarune, where it's just like, I don't know, just a video game and people are having ideas about what might happen, you know? I shouldn't get mad at people for what they think could happen, you know? This is all just like fun talking about what could potentially happen. I mean, look at chapter 3 and 4, like literally nothing we said we thought would happen in chapter 3 and 4 happened, but like the chapters were peak, like the chapters were so good. I'm like so happy with what Toby did, and I know I'll still be happy even if somehow Asgore doesn't get any character arc or any screen time. Like if Asgore somehow gets Toriel'd where he's just like sleeping the whole time, I know Toby will like do it amazing. The music will be amazing, there'll be amazing scenes. So, you know, don't worry about if your theories are right, just make them for fun. So yeah, that's my little wholesome tip here at the end of the video. So yeah, again, if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe, leave a like, comment below, and I'll see you guys next time.